Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
What's going on, everybody? I go by RB and this is Philly Tig with RB. If you guys are enjoying the content of the channel, be sure to smash that like button, and if you are new and want to stay updated on some great Philly content, well, be sure to hit that subscribe. So a few days ago, we did a video talking about the Sixers' top trade targets for this upcoming offseason, and today I want to do another highly requested video here on the channel, which is the Sixers' top free agent targets heading into this upcoming offseason. Now, before I start, I do want to say, obviously, this is subject to change, right? We have a season coming back at the end of July. We have some guys performing, others are not. Based on the Sixers' needs, just like the trade targets, this free agent list might not be the most talented, the most skilled guys, but just pieces that I could see us plugging into the Philadelphia 76ers based on what I expect to happen. We still have to see with the Sixers and other teams as well, how they decide to construct their rosters. This NBA offseason coming up is not going to be filled with a bunch of star-studded talent. That was last offseason. If you remember, we had the craziest free agency maybe in the history of sports. So this offseason is not going to entail too many stars, but definitely some pieces I could see the Sixers plugging in. Number 10 on the free agent target list for the Sixers for me has to be Fred VanVleet. Yes, Fred VanVleet, backup point guard right now for the Toronto Raptors, a guy who helped them win a championship last year. I mean, he's been incredible ever since going undrafted. He averages 17, 18 points a game off the bench. He's incrementally increased by the year. He's only been in the league 4 years. He's 25 years old. Guy shoots about 36 to 38% from the three-point range. He's a guy who I could see the Sixers bringing in as a backup point guard if we're not able to find one elsewhere. Heading into number 9 on my list is Goran Dragic, another backup point guard who I think could be vital to this team, a guy who comes with more veteran experience and leadership. I mean, it looked like his days were numbered, right? But this past season, Goran Dragic took a backup role. He knew what the Heat were trying to do with those young guys, correct? And he was mature about it. He was very professional, took that backup role. And what did he do? He thrived in it. I mean, the guy was averaging like 16 points, I think, per game. He was playing significant minutes. He could be a guy who can knock down shots, and I could definitely see him being that complement as well. Number 8 on my list is Serge Ibaka, power forward, backup right now for the Toronto Raptors. He's 30 years old. He'll be 31 next year, but Serge Ibaka is a seasoned vet. He has been there. He has done it. He recently won an NBA championship with the Toronto Raptors, and he would be a great piece for this locker room and for this bench. I mean, he's great. He averages, 15, 16 a game off the bench. He can also knock it down from 3. Now, he started to regress a little bit, but this year, before this whole thing happened, he was averaging about 40% from behind the arc. He's a nice bench piece who's going to get rebounds. He's going to do the dirty work. He's going to get in there and play aggressively with an attitude. He can also be a nice defensive piece off the bench. And, if he were to play next to Embiid for some minutes per game, I mean, it would be great. Number 7 on my list is DeMar DeRozan. Yes, a 2-guard from the San Antonio Spurs. We know him best from his days with the Raptors. I mean, this guy, he's 30 years old now. He's up there in age, but he is still a guy who can contribute. Now, keep in mind, he has a player option for $27 million next year. Me personally, I probably don't expect him to test free agency given his situation. I think he likes playing for a coach like Popovich. But DeMar DeRozan, if he was to enter free agency and the Sixers offered him, it would be hard because obviously we would have to move around contracts. He would probably demand starter type money, and he would probably have to start on this team. DeMar DeRozan could come in here and be a 3-4 option. I do agree, and that's kind of what I think we might look for in terms of a forward. But DeMar DeRozan, even though he averages 22 a game, even though he averages 6 rebounds and 6 assists a game, he's a great piece. He's a guy who will help the development of others, but he can be a liability sometimes on the defensive side of the floor, and we all know the struggles he's had shooting the ball from long range. I mean, he's really never been able to develop it during his career, and that's kind of the one thing that's held him back. If he was to ever, decide he wants to come off the bench, I think he would be a perfect piece for our unit, but I don't see that happening. I don't really see him being taken away from the Spurs. I think he'll accept that player option and play another year in San Antonio. Number 6 on my list, and this is the first strict shooter that I have up on here, is Davis Bertans from the Washington Wizards, a power forward. The guy keeps getting better. He's 27 years old. He has played significant minutes for the Wizards this season off the bench. He's playing, I think, like 29, 30 minutes a game. He played his first couple years with the Spurs, and since coming to the Wizards, he has just escalated. He has become one of the most notable free agents upcoming this season, a shooter that everyone is going to have their eyes on. This season, he's shooting above 42% from behind the arc. He's averaging 15 points a game off the bench. He'll get you 5 rebounds. He's a guy that's going to come in and hit you 3 to 4 threes a night, and he's shown some long range. He just seems like he's getting better, a guy who's probably going to be really entering his prime in the next couple years, and a shooter that will be highly coveted. Obviously, we know the Sixers needs. We know we're going to need that type of shooter. Now, let me tell you, he's a serviceable bench piece, and we saw it ourselves when he torched us. Number 5 on my list is Danilo Gallinari. I think I pronounced that right, but Gallinari, let me tell you guys, obviously he's with the OKC Thunder. They weren't really expected to do much, but he has had a big impact on that team. He'll be 32 years old next year, obviously getting up there in age, but I think he could actually be a perfect complement for the Sixers. He's a guy I was never really high on, but seeing what he did over the last couple years, I mean, he's always been that guy to give you, 12, 14, 15 points, whether it's off the bench or starting. But even though he's been plagued by injury, the last couple years, he's really come on strong. Now, he might be at the end of his peak, but I mean, the last couple years, he's averaged 18, 19. I think that's what he's going to give you, about 19, 20 points a game. He's a guy who's going to shoot 40, 42% from behind the arc, and I think it was last year he shot 43, 44%, and he's still above 40 this year. Obviously, he went from the Clippers to OKC. He was involved in the Paul George trade, but I think he could actually be very well for the Sixers. He's going to give you 6 rebounds a night, a couple assists, and he's an adequate defender on the court. And based on what I think the Sixers will do, if we move some of those big contracts, plug Gallinari in at the wing, I think he would be great. He doesn't have to be a number 1, a number 2 option. Now, he is a bit of a streaky player, but given what we need, I think he'll be able to knock down some shots and be able to fulfill those duties. Number 4 on my list, and this is a guy I am very high on. The only reason he did not make it higher on my list is because of the shooting problem with the Sixers. This guy is not going to shoot the ball at all, but it is Montrezl Harrell, power forward / center from the LA Clippers. We know what Harrell has done. He has been a great depth piece for the Clippers. We know how much they value that depth and their bench. It's really been the second unit, and it's filled with a bunch of starters like Lou Will, and Montrezl Harrell has been unbelievable. He's been in the league about 5 years now. Had a rough start with the Rockets, but ever since going to the Clippers, he's gone up from 11 points a game up to 16. Now almost up to 19 points a game off the bench. He's going to give you 7 rebounds a night. He's averaging 7 rebounds a night off the bench. He's a guy that plays with an attitude. He plays hard. He's going to throw it down. He can play defense, and if he was to come off and man the second unit for the Sixers, I know he's a bench piece, but he has to be this high on my list because we need to go after Harrell. He's going to get a multi-year contract from somebody. I don't know if he's going to stay with the Clippers or not. We see some of the guys that come to the Sixers and they don't look like they don't know how to play defense and they're playing lackadaisical. That will not be Montrezl Harrell. It is just not in his nature, in his blood to play like that. If he was to come here, boy, him and Joel Embiid, the defensive prowess we would have on this team, just seeing the effect he's had. I mean, he's going to be a guy that will play hard and give it his all every single night. He's a guy that we need. Number 3 on my list, and I know he is not as skilled as some of these other players, but he fulfills a need, and that is Joe Harris, shooting guard from the Brooklyn Nets. When you kick it to him, when Ben Simmons is driving, say he kicks it out to the corner and Joe Harris is there, he's going to knock down shots. He's a guy who's going to give you 4, maybe 5 threes a night. I really see Joe Harris as being that piece we could plug in. Ever since we lost JJ Redick, we know we are missing that, and we need to surround Ben and Joe with some shooters. Joe Harris would be perfect for the job. I mean, the guy's always been a 38 to 40% shooter from 3. In the past couple years, he's ramped it up. We saw him win the 3-point contest. That's kind of when he went on notice. I think it was last year when he shot 47%, 48% from behind the arc. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. ridiculous. I could see him coming off dribble handoffs, moving around behind screens, kick it to him. He's going to knock down some shots. I'm telling you, he is number 3 on my list because the Sixers need a knockdown shooter. Number 2 on my list, and some people might think this is a bit high, but I have Otto Porter on my list. He is a small forward with the Chicago Bulls. He's been on the Wizards as well. He's been in the league for about like 6 years now, I think. But the reality of the situation is that he is only 26 years old. I know he's plagued by some injuries. He's been battling the injury bug over the last couple years. And Otto Porter has had some decent seasons, right? He's had, 13, 15, 16 points a game. But with Chicago, he just has not been able to stay healthy. But if he can survive the injury bug, he has a player option for next year worth $28 million. To me, I could see him testing out of that and trying to get a contract in free agency, even though he might not get as much. I know he's trying to prove his worth. He's trying to get to a better situation. Like I said, Otto Porter, he'll give you 14, 15 a night. He's that perfect wing. He fulfills the need like a Gallinari that I was talking about. He's going to be a wing you plug in, play the forward for us. He's going to hit threes. He's going to play D. He's a very nice defender, and he's going to get other guys involved as well. He'll give you 4 or 5 rebounds a night. He'll give you multiple assists a night. He'll give you a steal or 2 a night. He's had seasons where he shot 40, 42, 43%. He'll average at least 38 to 40% from behind the arc. He's a guy that can put it on the floor, can make his own shot, can get to the rack, can be tough as long as he stays on the court, as long as he stays healthy. I really could see Otto Porter being a nice fit with the Sixers, with Ben Simmons, with Joel. Does not have to be a top option, but when you kick it to him, he's going to make plays. If we want to format our team like we did years back when we had Covington and Sarge with guys, we talk, maybe we don't want to add that other star. Maybe Ben Simmons develops, starts shooting the ball, and he can be our number 1 or number 2 option. We can have Otto Porter right there to be the guy to fulfill minutes, 25, 30, 35 minutes a night, and he can hit shots and hold his own on both sides of the floor. I think this is a guy, if he gets cut or does not take his player option, the Sixers really need to look into him and try to figure out that whole cap situation. And number 1 on my list, I know it's a long shot, given everything that's going on, but it has to be Gordon Hayward. Now, hear me out. You guys might think, oh, Gordon Hayward's washed. Ever since the catastrophic injury, he's not the same. Let me tell you something. When I watched Gordon Hayward back in Utah, he was a stud. And yes, he had that terrible injury, and it's taken him some time. They got a lot of heat over there in Boston for the whole Kyrie thing, everything that happened. But Brad Stevens trusted in Hayward. He's been starting every game this season. And let me tell you, he's putting up 17 a game. He's putting up 4 or 5 assists a game. He's putting up about 7 rebounds a game. He's kind of had that bounce back year. Now, he as well has a player option for next year, but it's $34 million. I could see him opting out of that given what the Celtics are trying to do with Tatum and Brown and some of those boys. Hayward might go and look for a longer-term deal in free agency given his injury history as well. Maybe he wants to solidify himself with a nice deal in case he were to go down again. Gordon Hayward is a perfect wing that we could bring to the Sixers. He does not have to be your number 1. Gordon Hayward likes the ball. He likes to take shots, but I think he is a good personality. He would fit with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and maybe it's just not the right opportunity anymore with the Boston Celtics based on what they're trying to do. Bring him over to Philadelphia. I know it's a long shot, but he should be at the top of the list because if he could come in here and play 30 to 35 minutes a night and stay healthy and knock down the shots like he has been. He's shooting 39, 40% from the field. Back with his days in Utah, he was shooting over 40%. He's a guy that will knock it down. I like how he plays on both sides of the ball. He's an aggressive player. He'll give you a steal, maybe a block every single game, and he likes to get guys open. Gordon Hayward can be that guy. I know people have given up on him, but I have not yet. In the offseason, say we part with Al, or we part with Tobias, or move some of those contracts around. And like I said, we want to surround Ben and Joe with a nice 3-and-D wing and maybe some shooters. I think Gordon Hayward could be a perfect piece to plug in here and suit that need for the Sixers. I would really look into him. A lot is subject to change, but this is just a very early list. You guys give me your thoughts on this list. Let me know anyone else I missed down below. I'll definitely be updating this list in the coming months, but I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Perfect.